You hear a lot today about mental toughness, and I think that's kind of a buzzword in the mental health realm. I think it's good to distinguish between mental toughness and emotional toughness. And for me, an easy example of mental toughness would be running a marathon, because it's you've got to have mental toughness to run 26.2 miles. And a good example of that is the marathon here in Nashville. Typically there's a half portion and a full portion. So the half marathon, 13.1 miles, and the full marathon is 26.2. And if you do that race, especially if you're running the full marathon, at the halfway point, I think it was around like mile 9 or 10, the last time I ran the marathon, the half marathon people broke to the left and the full marathon people would continue straight. And as a runner doing the full marathon, it's a mental game when you see the rest of the crowd going to the left, knowing you still have 13.1 miles to go. So that's the best way I can describe mental toughness. And another way you could say would be discipline. You've got the discipline to do a task that you may not want to do, like going to the gym 5 days a week. Because typically you're not going to feel like training 5 days a week. Most people aren't. But discipline or mental toughness is going to get you in the gym. It's going to set that routine or that habit of going, 5 days a week on a regular basis. So I want to focus on emotional toughness. And I think emotional toughness is different because normally with emotional toughness or the mindset that comes along with the emotional piece, it's things that are out of your control. So with the mental toughness, you typically, if you're looking at a fitness dynamic, you've got control of that. You can determine when you're going to, or when you're going to go for a run. If you aren't going to eat a certain food, you're typically in control of that for the most part. The emotional toughness, typically it's things that are out of your control, and it usually involves other people. So you can't control other people. You can only control yourself and your actions and your thoughts. Ultimately, God is in control, but we as humans are given free will. So good luck trying to control anybody else in your life but yourself. So that being said, the emotional toughness piece, I think, really comes into play when bad things happen to us, or when we go through trials. We experience trauma, we experience loss, we experience grief or shame, or any of those emotions that are unpleasant. And the emotional toughness, in my opinion, is when you can continue to push forward and stay the course when bad things happen. You see it all the time. A marriage ends, or there's a loss of life, and people just cannot function. They physically break down. They can't handle the pain or the grief or the shame, and they're not able to function. And for the emotional side of the house, I think it's much more difficult to manage. And I think it takes practice. It takes working on yourself. And a lot of times it takes working with a professional to learn how to be emotionally tough or emotionally strong. And I think there are fewer people out there that have emotional toughness than the mental toughness. And I think more light should be shed on the emotional toughness because it is so much more challenging, in my opinion. And I think a lot of growth needs to occur, whether it's self-help or it's self-reflection. It's becoming part of a group where you can share your story, or share the experiences that you've gone through, share the trials that you've been through. And as you're able to do that, I think you become more emotionally strong. So when things do continue to happen in your life that are out of your control, you're able to deal with those better. And I think for some people, being emotionally strong, it scares them because you have to lean into the hard things in life, and you have to lean into those things without numbing them. So without abusing alcohol, without taking drugs, without watching porn, whatever it might be. without self-sabotaging. You have to be comfortable enough with yourself to get to a point to where you're emotionally strong and you can handle bad things. And I'd love to get your opinion on this, guys. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the difference between mental toughness and emotional toughness. I think a lot of competitive, A-type men are going to be mentally tough because they're going to do whatever it takes to succeed, to get the job done, and to get ahead in life. But those same men may not be emotionally strong because they're looking at life through a lens of, hey, I can control my environment and I can control what happens to me. And when something happens that they didn't expect or they didn't see coming, that's out of their control, 9 times out of 10, they may fall apart emotionally. So they're going to go to a self-sabotaging behavior in order to cope with it, whether it's abusing, like I said before, abusing drugs, alcohol, whatever it might be, gambling, you name it. There's a laundry list of things that we as men do to self-sabotage. We don't have to face pain or shame or grief. So I want to spread more awareness on the emotionally tough side of the house and make that more of a recognizable thing than just the mental toughness. I think right now in today's society, if you spend any time at all on social media, you're going to see the David Goggins of the world, who's another influencer. Really, any of these bro vet guys, these guys that are ultra marathoners or extreme fitness people, they're going to, Jocko, that's another good one. They're going to really preach this mental toughness thing. But I haven't heard a lot about the emotional toughness. Unless you're following therapists online or you're listening to podcasts like with Jordan Peterson or people like that, I don't feel like you see as much attention put on the emotional toughness that you do mental toughness. But you really need both, guys. You need to be mentally tough so you can do things that are hard in life, that you can face them without fear, so you'll have that discipline. But also you've got to be emotionally tough. And I really think, like I said before, that's way more difficult to be emotionally strong than it is to be mentally strong. So guys, what your thoughts are on this. Agree, disagree. I want to know. I want to know what you guys think. And, let's all work together and let's make not only mental toughness, but emotional toughness more of a subject that we can shed some light on. Thanks for your time, guys, and I appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, take care.